We will be using Excel quite a bit in this class, so it's important that you understand how to use Excel, and more importantly later, as you go out for a job, most likely they're going to be using Excel in some way in creating reports. So the first thing I want to talk about is referencing. It really deals with how formulas interpret cells that are included in the formula. So as an example, let's start and we'll put here an A1 the number 3, and in A2 we'll put the number 4. And in A4 we're going to write a formula equals sum, and then I'm going to choose this range A1 and A2 with the values 3 and 4. Close my parentheses and click enter, and I get a 7, which is what I expect. Now if I want to copy this formula, I can do Control C, copy it, and I'm going to go over to C4 and I'm going to paste it, which is Control V. But you notice that there's a 0 there, and in our formula it's looking at cells C1 to C2. It's looking at these cells right here. So what Excel has done is it says, well, in A4 you wanted the cell that was 3 above plus the cell that was 2 above, and then I gave you the answer. When I copied, then Excel said, well, you just want the cell 3 above, which is C1, plus the cell that's 2 above this formula, which is C2, and since there's nothing in there, it's equal to 0. And then I can throw some values in here just to show that it does work here. So this is called relative referencing, because the cells are relative in distance to where the formula is. Now we can also do what's called absolute referencing. And in this example, let's take and say, write another formula here in F4, and I'm going to say equals the sum, and I'm going to go over and I'm going to pick A1 and A2 as my range. And now to get into absolute referencing, I'm going to press F4. And what that says is I'm going to lock in the range from A1 to A2. And anytime I copy this formula, it's always going to reference absolutely these cells. Go ahead and close my parenthesis, hit enter, and you notice I get the value of the formula here for A1 and A2. Now let's take and copy this formula. Control C, go here to H4, Control V. You notice it comes up as a 7, and where I had those dollar signs that locked it in and gave me the value that I expect. That's absolute referencing. It locks it in. Now there's another form called mixed referencing. And this is where you can lock either the column or the row and leave the other one unlocked. So let's do an example. Probably the easiest I can do is a multiplication table. So let's start with 0 here. We're going to do the column. Next value is 1. Now one thing you can do to speed up the process of entering numbers in, once you put the first 2 numbers in, you can take and highlight them and then grab this little square that's in the bottom right hand corner and just drag it down. And now I'm going to do this for the horizontal, 0, 1, and I'm going to drag that across. Now I want to create my formula here, and the idea is create the formula in one square, one cell, and then use that formula to just copy and paste and create the whole table. So I'm going to do equals, and here I want this cell, but when I move to the cells across, I want to always reference this column. But when I go to the next line, I want to reference each new row. So I need to lock the column, but leave the rows to change. So I'm going to press F4. Sorry about that. F4, so that locks both. And that locks the row. It's not what I want. I want to lock the column. Now, just keep pressing F4, it cycles through. Now I'm going to go to the top here to B11, and in this case I want to lock the row, but I want the column to be able to change. So I'm just going to press F4, keep pressing F4 until I lock the row, but I keep the column without the $sign in front of it. And now when I press enter, I get my formula 0 times 0. It's what I expect. Now I can just click on the cell, grab the square in the bottom right, drag it down, and you notice that it changes my formula. And now if I highlight this, grab the square in the bottom right corner, drag to the right, my multiplication table appears, and the cells have changed based on that mixed referencing. So this is one way to increase your productivity when you're using Excel in class.